Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the OG's Power Hour. We're waiting for the other guys. I'm not sure where they are, but I'm just one of those people. I don't like to be late. So anyway, guys, we're going to talk today about growing more than just a plant. And I think that we are doing just that. We're not just growing the cannabis plant for the love of growing the plant, but by moving into an understanding of the biology, we're able to grow our world towards a much better direction. We're growing a community of like-minded people that are going to be able to take this message out and share it more and more and more. So that's really what we're growing. We're growing a message. We're growing a hope for our own futures. It is an amazing thing that we are able in this day and age to start influencing basically our world with this knowledge that if you're not growing yourself, you're not growing, the plants, the biology, etc., then you're not doing what you need to be doing. We understand that the biology in our bodies, the biology in the soil, in our plants and our animals is basically the same biology. They may be cousins, etc., but without that biology, our cells can't develop. Now, I was asked to speak on the S phase of cell development. And since John and Tony are both late, we're going to get it a little bit into the S phase. Now, this is the very beginning of life on our planet because no cell can go into RNA and DNA until it goes through the S phase. So what is the S phase? When your cell is old enough and understands that it needs to divide, then it starts the process. Now, what's the process? It has to gather two things in the S phase. It has to gather all the building blocks. So we're talking your water molecules, calcium, magnesium, everything that goes into that cell to make it up. And there's John, and he's driving.
I'm driving. We got some dogs in the background. We're headed to, we're at 710, guys. It's Celebration Day.
Cool.
So we already had the winter burbs, and we grabbed some fresh rosin. We're going to go back there for a big 710 sesh this afternoon. And we got the dogs in the back, Brittany in the house, and we're heading to Golden Ears, Alouette Lake to smoke some weed with some other friends, and then we're going to go see Ramo. We're going to go see Rogue World, which is next level, and then we're going to go see Kind Selections. All of these great companies in the new changing world order of weed.
Well, and we were just talking about growing more than just a plant, and that's what we're growing. We're growing a community and a movement that we're taking in the right direction.
Of course, we're growing a brand new community. The community is growing fast with legalization. And seeing the changes, like the changes that I just drove around here, this is where Ramo used to live, and he moved because that's probably why. That was his old house. I was like, they just fucked that whole thing right up. And then he used to live right up here. So all of Urban Rainbow's videos actually were right here, right there. That's his old house, and those are all the old places that he moved because of all the shit that was going on here. It's kind of cool. So he doesn't live here anymore. So we're celebrating and coming out here to enjoy a puff in behalf of some of our greats like Michelle Rainey, Greg Williams, Horatio, Jerry Martin, Paul Hornby. We can keep going on. Jason Wilcox, and then there's Bert Eastwood. All of these greats that have been in our lives. Today's a day of celebrating and taking a look back at those lives that got us to where we are. Those 42 previous ones we talk about, the 42 people that have passed before us, that made us to get us to where we are today, and the 42 of us that are keeping it alive to keep this movement growing. Like yourself, Ken, of putting together this group, meeting at the Rosebud Bowl it was Unicorn Cup, but looking forward to all of these events. We got new events coming up. Pot Fights is going to be really cool. There's another event happening in North Vancouver. There's the Canada Golf Classic. There's so much going on. It's just like an event like almost every week now.
Couple every week.
This is what legal. Before it's like one event a year. Now we're getting a couple events a week.
Retailers
are hosting. There's an event today all over the place. It's the new era. It's the new growth. It's being able to actually get the education out there. We don't have to do one event and try and worry about being arrested. We can do events everywhere and bring the community in now, right?
Yeah.
We talk about this, and as we keep growing this community and growing, what we really got to find out is where he's going to meet us up here, because the lake is a big lake.
The entrance.
The entrance, perfect. So now I know where we're meeting.
He knows where you're going.
I mean, a big lake.
Can't miss them when you block
The entrance, that's good. Can't miss them when you block the entrance, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Tony,
Really
how you
enjoying
doing,
this? How you doing? We got Mr.
muted,
Toad
Tony.
in the house. I
No,
might
you're
jump
not
out of
coming
reception
through.
a
You're
tiny
you're not
bit here.
muted, but you're not coming through, Tony.
I've been outside taking samples off plants all morning. I'm tired.
You taking samples off plants all morning? What plants?
Yeah, I'm taking cannabinoid dominance tests for DNA for some breeding projects I'm doing to find out if some of the plants I'm using have the ability to convert CBG to THC with DNA markers.
Cool.
I'm locked in.
You're locked in.
You guys? Yeah, I'm locked in.
No service?
No, I got good service, and now I can do this. Check this out.
Oh,
I got the
cool.
dogs in the
hands.
back. We got Brittany's right here. Actually, if I had a
Hi,
better
Brittany.
phone, they said hello.
Oh, hi.
We here.
There you
Can you
go.
hear you?
Hey, Brittany, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm great.
We are
Look
good.
As you guys know, Ken did the Grow Up Conference, and when we're at the Grow Up Conference, Brittany was the girl running around and getting us all coordinated. Did I say that right?
Somewhat.
Coordinated.
Somewhat.
As coordinated
Somewhat,
as it
yeah.
gets.
All right. She held the party. She did the network speed dating, speed
So
networking.
Grow Up, I did speed networking, and then the 2 after parties.
There you go.
BC Summit, Jacqueline and I did the event.
So we got the BC Summit, which was an amazing event, guys. So this young lady here has been really stepping up into the industry, and you're going to see a lot more events happening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Sorry, the dogs.
Ken's
really
getting
wanna
bump
go
out of it.
outside.
The dog's going to go outside, and they're going to run around.
I'm gonna let them pee. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Bye,
I'm going to
Brittany.
continue talking with you guys. So it's about the events, guys. It's really what's seeing here right now is the amount of events that are starting to pop up. And Ken, we talked about doing events, and you're going to do your tour, and you got your biology. Well, adding your biology event to an event and making it more about the community and bringing that in together is really what we're looking at. Is how can we join the community instead of having these big corporate events like Lyft coming in and bring the community base in to give the proper education about where we are in the industry today and how they can actually utilize a lot of the products that are on the legal market and get close to the licensed producers, talk to the retailers, talk to the bud tenders, and get some knowledge around what they're actually truly purchasing and what they're looking at. I think this is going to be the next real new push of what we're looking at. All these events popping up, they're everywhere.
Sorry to interrupt. Let's not forget that our consumers are part of the cannabis community too, and we want to start integrating them into events. So if we have to host bigger private events, then so be it.
Well, like the Green Gold Games in Cambridge, Ontario, we're doing another one in August. And there goes a fire truck.
It sucks when there's a fire truck going up to a lake where there's a lot of recreational stuff going on, so that just tells me that someone's gotten hurt or something like that, and they need some kind of rescue out. So
that's not good, man. Hope they'll be okay.
Something positive on that, and I'm hoping it's just a car fire or there's a little bit of someone's tents on fire. That's what we're going to manifest right now. Is someone's tents on fire, so they got to bring in the fire truck to put it out.
Well, let's hope.
So what we're talking about right there is exactly what Brittany was talking about. It's the consumers. Are the key here. That's the education I'm talking about here. That's what we all keep talking about. The consumers need the education from the bud tenders who get the education from the store owners who get the education from what the licensed producer, what strain they have, who get the education from the consumers. Because the consumers are the ones giving the education of what they're truly looking for. Well, it's not what we want, it's what we need.
right? We get what we have to have. We'll take what we have to have, but we need certain products and we need the education, and then let's get a grading system. And we talk about a grading system, we talk about water activity. We talk about a standard when it comes to water. There's relative humidity, there's moisture, and there's active water, AW. And I could talk about this because I got this great presentation I've been working on about water activity, setting a global standard for cannabis, guys. This global standard comes down to an A, B, C, or a 1, 2, 3. And it's an easy, such a simple grading system. We can all relate to this grading system. And we all know that dry ass weed that doesn't smoke that well in a roller, you just can't roll it. Anybody here, Mr. Toad? Yeah. But
Yeah, I know.
It goes really well in a vaporizer or a bong.
Yeah.
Why not? Vaporizer 100%, and the bong burns the throat. But this is like a really good way of being able to identify the grade C. 25% AW to 40%, quite consistently. You see this over and over again. You see all of these grading systems, how we can actually put in a grading system. Now, you know that weed that burns like coffee joint weed burns 10 minutes. It's a quick joint.
Yeah.
You know the quick joint, right? Quick joint over here. Got to get it
coffee
done.
break, man. Just skip out that for 5 minutes.
When you roll it, the weed falls at the end.
Yeah.
That's a grade B or a grade 2, right? It's got good consistency. It burns pretty quick. It's terpy. I call it coffee joint weed. Or in between dinner weed, or you're outside smoking a quick joint. You got to get a joint in you. You got to go inside. That's the quick joint. Or the bong, of course. You got that double. And by the way, the C grade can be on the shelf forever. And same with the B grade if it's properly managed on a humidity. Now that number 1 grade, we call A grade and number 1, that one that moves like sand on a rolling tray. You know the one we're talking about? The one that burns perfect, the ones that we smoke all the time. That when you put it in the rollie, it just sits on the rollie and you got to like push down the weed and stick it in. Mr. Toad's nodding his head. Grade A. It's always 55% to 65% AW consistently. No like tomorrow. This is something I've been seeing and witnessing for a very long time. So putting in a grading system so the consumers can identify and educating the bud tenders on the grading system that is put by the store owners and the licensed producers to the growers. Well, it all has to come down to somebody from yourself. So as we start looking at a grading system for the consumers to give proper choice, we can then properly actually start identifying products on the shelf for people for medical purposes by giving them a grade instead of trying to give them THC, because all they've done is pack THC in our system and gave us weed. There's no freshness. They give us a weed in a container and say, here you go, it's what you're buying. It's got a fucking name to it. We don't even know the names anymore because I call it Tutti Frutti number 5. Juicy Fruit. Couldn't sell it back in 2010. I call it Heavy Duty Fruity. It became a name. Anybody ever smoked Heavy Duty Fruity? Yeah, we laughed about that because that name would happen between driving from Maple Ridge to Vancouver, and they said we're not going to buy Juicy Fruit. No way. So we changed the name in the drive and called it Heavy Duty Fruity. We sold that shit. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So when we were able to grade something by its terpene profile on the bottle and a grading system of what it is by moisture content, you can now identify cannabis around the world for actually proper consumption. Say yes.
Yes. Yes, twice even.
I know. So I just really wanted to voice that because it's been on my mind. I'm really pushing this. And over the last 3 weeks and just being able to really witness what people were asking for, what the consumers were asking for, what the store owners are asking for, what the licensed producers are asking for, what everybody's asking for. They want some way to be able to identify cannabis so they can sell it, consume it, consume it, be able to properly educate on it. The bud tenders want some type of education. What they got nothing. Oh, well, we smoked it, it's good. Oh, it's this. But giving it a system, I think this is going to be a standard. This will be a standard set for the world. You guys are going to make it happen. You can identify it. Everybody I talk to says, yeah. If it wasn't for Dr. Hornby and all the people in my life that helped me get to where I was, Horatio, Jason, I can name all these great names from Michelle Rainey. We've all been fighting for the same thing. Proper legalization, be able to identify cannabis so we can consume it for our medicinal or our recreational purposes, whatever you want. But be able to actually identify it through a grading system is going to be the next way of actually being able to, well, it's a must. That's it. It's going to happen. Yes.
Well, and it has to, and that's part of the education. But you look at almost any other industry and cigars, etc. They have that standard, and you got your grade A, grade B, grade C. So it really makes a lot more sense if we can do it properly.
I got to post my push-ups.
Oh, well, yes. Okay, well, get out of here and post your push-ups. Okay. Hey, Tony. Bebem and River wanted to know what you're doing, Tony.
Like, did you post the push-ups? I'm like,
I'm packing up some
posting
freebies
push-ups
I'm
right
sending
now,
out.
guys.
Okay.
You know.
And Johnny's posting his push-up. Because he keeps forgetting, and then he gets in heck on our chat. Like, they remind him, hey, John, you forgot to post your push-ups. But that's the influence that we're bringing to. Now, what do you think of the water activity, Tony? Like, you nod your head quite a bit. Do you think John's on the right track with this?
Well, we've got to do something to standardize what's being offered to people. You need to be able to go to anywhere to get the herb that you prefer, using it recreational or medicinally, and have
What's going on here, guys? We're trying here really hard.
be
Okay?
something that's quality. I don't want my herb across like some gas stations to goes. I want it to be that's just me. And I think we do the same way.
Post your push-ups because I got fans waiting for me.
He's trying to post his push-ups, and Tony, you went robotic on us there for a second, bro.
Man, my internet's bad.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, no worries. Well, you had one of your towers locally go down or something. You were saying there last week. So
yeah, one of the cell towers went out down here. So I don't know when it's coming back or if it is.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I know
the
that's
only
why I had to go.
Internet I have.
Yeah, that's why I had to go to Starlink, man, because I just was having just garbage internet.
I'm thinking about it. I really am.
Are you thinking about it?
Oh, have you got your push-ups posted yet, John? Well,
he's trying.
I should jump on IG, and when they come through, I'll know that he's going to be coming back. Really louse him up. So yeah, I have to agree 199% that water activity really makes a difference. Like, I can't smoke that dry stuff because it just burns my throat, and then I'm hacking and coughing, and that's not good for me.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, I was talking a little bit about the S
still
phase.
talk. You don't need me to be talking.
Oh God, no! We're not expecting you to talk.
You guys just work.
Maybe I should mute you, and then we don't have to worry about your talking. Oh, that's bad. I'm a bad guy. So yeah, it's really more about the community, and like John was saying about the different events. Like, they just had one in Cambridge, Ontario. They're going to have another one. We actually had a legal one in Calgary, which is you weren't allowed to smoke on city property. We actually had our first one on city property. They had to set up a tent, and you would go inside the tent to smoke.
Everything is like nothing's going on.
That's the ways you can get around what they have for their laws in different areas. I just heard somebody on the East Coast just went legal. Michigan, not Michigan. I can't remember now. But somebody else just on the East Coast of the United States just got legal. Carry up to an ounce and a half. 2 plants.
I'm trying to think what state that was.
Maine or Maryland or man.
I
Maryland.
just heard it also. Maryland, is that what it is?
Yeah. Silly Lily just put up Maryland, and so she knows. So, John, are you frozen, or are you just sitting there? And John, we just lost John. Okay, so yeah, there's the more events that we can organize all over the world, globally, and like John was saying, adding the education in, and that's the biggest aspect of people understanding once they understand a little bit more about, you know, how our bodies are put together, how the plants put together, the proper, you know, water content in the cannabis, you know, to consume it, where it's not hurting your lungs, etc. And like there's the different methodologies of consuming, you know, the bong and then the vaporizer, and using the different levels of AW in the cannabis. I think you know, a lot of people will be able to get more of what they want when they want it. And then the next level of education is, well, they need to understand what they want. Are they going for, you know, a pain? Are they going for a muscle? You know, there's so many different ailments out there, from anxiety and depression, etc. What their bodies need in their endocannabinoid system and how they can balance that out. I think that's going to need to really be part of the education going forward, is people understanding how their own bodies work, so that they can choose the strains that are going to work best for their situation. And that's why, you know, Tony, it's so important what you're doing. You were saying you were out taking clippings to take a look at the cannabinoids in your plants and how they're interacting, so you can track these data sets. And that's one of the things I love to do. I love data sets. I love putting things together, gathering all this different information, and then going, oh, well, shit, now it works. You know, now this makes sense and that makes sense where it didn't before. And that's part of the education. And Tony, you know, you talk a lot about, you know, the strains that you're working on. What is there anything specific you're working towards right now in the cannabinoid profiles that you're looking at? Oh, no, you got to hit your button again. Still nothing. There we go.
In my current project, I'm trying to cross my haze. I've got a haze cross to my angel male and a haze cross to the redwood kush F3 male, and I'm crossing those two together, along with an ACDC Harlequin cross to Ghost OG Kim Dog Special Reserve. That is a 1-to-1 CBD cultivar. So my haze also has shown CBD in it, so I'm hoping to find some really good 1-to-1 cultivars that come out of there that don't have the typical effect that many CBD lines have. Many of them, and not all lines, but there's plenty of lines out there that are all being based off of certain one cultivar or one gene pool to get the CBD in there easily. And I'm trying to add some stuff that's different. Like if I can get it through my haze to pop up, it's going to be a whole different experience than smoking it from something that was derived from hemp, with what some people are using. So that's the current project. Other than that, I've been breeding for OG, and that line will be something that I finished this year. I will be doing a large outdoor population after the 5th year of breeding all these. So I'll go out here. That's going to involve 8.
There goes Tony, all robotic on us again.
There he goes again. See, my internet's terrible.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like you got to sit in this particular area in your house to get internet that's consistent, Tony.
I know. I'm sorry about that, folks.
You know, brother, it doesn't matter, because the knowledge that you drop and the understanding that you have, you know, it's amazing, and we love to listen to it. And there's
Hi,
John
guys.
back.
Did
you get your push-ups posted?
Wait, we have to pull over.
It's posting. It's just
Yeah, they like pull over. Do you think it's posting?
Fuck.
We're having what we call cell phone problems.
Like, it's just the push-ups are the easy part here.
The push-ups are the easy part. It's posting. Sometimes that's what you'll see with me. Sometimes my push-ups go at 11 o'clock because it's just where you are. There's nothing you can do about it. But I always timestamp everything, so it says I did them at 10. So figure it out. You know what I mean? That's it. She's like, yeah, I did them.
Pre-record a whole bunch of
You can't pre-record them.
John is on an adventure.
John's definitely on an adventure.
I will be posting a 30-day push-up peak state challenge and what you need to do every day for your peak state challenge. So it's like you might not get to be able to post it, but we're definitely going to be there for you to push it.
Yeah.
Here we are, Golden Ears Park.
Cool. And you're not getting good cell signal in the park, of course.
No,
It's all gonna happen later.
it's all going to happen later. You're going to get a little reception right here.
I think so.
I know. I got
for
one
a second. Are
stretch
they
of
behind
highway.
us? No one's behind us right now.
Yeah, they're right
I go down to a
The white
bridge
car
in
at
the
the top,
valley, and
yeah,
I lose
that's
my
okay.
internet every time.
there.
We're looking. Well, I can tell you now. I have 3 bars, so it should be going up. What's going on?
Just taking fucking forever.
Everybody's laughing about us both because they hear me doing the same thing, right? So this is just like they're used to me doing this, so that's why they're laughing their heads off. It's like we're awesome, you know.
Yep.
It's getting it out there, and now you can see what we go through just to try and get the information out there, just to keep that state going,
Yeah,
just
our
to keep
mental
that.
health is really benefiting from this right now.
Our
Thanks,
mental
John.
health-
Thanks so much. Anxiety.
Oh,
Okay, there's
yeah,
no anxiety here right now. There's no anxiety. You know what it is? This is what we call living. This is her office.
Yeah.
Her car.
Yep.
It truly is.
Like it truly is. So when you're in your office, sometimes your office, you know, the computer breaks down. How many times have we done a live and we haven't been able to go live? Well,
Yep.
we lost the reception. There's no live today. You guys can figure that shit out. We'll be back.
Yeah.
As we drive
pretty
into
much.
this beautiful unknown of nowhere. Actually, it's really nice out here. Alouette Lake is one of the beautiful spots. I grew up out here, so this is like a lot of mountain biking, a lot of motorcycle riding, a lot of partying, a lot of mushrooms. Yeah, this has been a lot of good times. Me and Ramo talked about coming down here when we were like 15 years old, smoking weed. We had to use hairspray so people didn't think we smelled like weed. But we had all fucking long hair in high school, right? So we used hairspray.
I guess they didn't.
Why
have
do you think
axe
I had?
back
Yeah,
then.
that's why we had long hair. Okay, you go to fucking jail if you smell like weed. So it's like hairspray. Yeah, I had the Bon Jovi hair. Used hairspray all the time.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And
She's
see,
like,
I got curls, man. So I got these locks that just look.
oh, I had the
beautiful.
curls. I had it all. It was beautiful. That's how we were able to hide the cell of smoke because you had long hair.
Yeah.
That was now when you smell like weed. Then it got to a time when you smelled like weed. It was like a cologne.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, you're a grower. You must. And it was like it was that was the era. Now you just who cares. But back then it was really how to make sure you were able to present yourself and not go to jail.
Yeah.
Think of those on certain times, eh? Yeah, smoke a joint, you would go to jail for 6 months. Getting caught smoking a joint. So when I was 15 years old, I got caught smoking a joint. They took it out of my mouth. They grabbed a quarter ounce of weed out of my top pocket and it says, "You're busted," and took my weed.
Mm-hmm.
I got a possession charge for the purpose of trafficking. Oh yeah, 15 years old.
That's the nice thing about being a girl.
Yeah, and then no time served, nothing. All they do is fuck me for the rest of my life. So that's where I went through the whole pardon thing and stuff like that and try to work on. And you don't need a pardon if you're underage, but the U.S. does not recognize an age time frame, so they just still think that I'm a drug dealer. Pretty fucked up system.
I just wish.
I think they knew that when in
never tried to
1986.
cross. Yeah, I never tried to cross.
Where we are today.
We had the same thing.
And this is why we do not touch the American border, because until they legalize, they can ban like Ramo for life and other people that we know, like Matt from BC Bud Deal. These guys are banned for life because they admitted smoking weed. Now, that never goes away. That's life. Now, when they legalize, I'm going to walk across the border with a joint in my mouth, fucking lighting it. It's going to be awesome. The day when it's on, I'll be like, I'll be waiting for this moment to actually walk across, drive across with a joint in my mouth and not worry about it. Because you can smoke cigarettes at the border crossing. You can smoke it. I could be the passenger. Fuck yeah, you can't drive smoking it, but she's kind of right there. I'm gonna get okay. This is why I have someone. You know. She's like, by the way,
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, she'd love to see it as I'm getting arrested. I've had people film
I
me
don't
as
know.
I'm
I
getting
think we
arrested
just
at
set up a
airports. It's
camera,
happened in the
John, and we
past.
record it. We do a live stream of you crossing the border, smoking one. Okay?
A live
Like,
stream
you know.
across the border, even better.
While driving.
Yeah, while driving.
While
Like
driving,
the one
yeah.
when I got pulled over. That one was good. We had like, what, 800 people watching live that morning? I got pulled over and I put the phone there and went live on Facebook because they searched my car and it went viral.
Oh my god.
Viral. And they made an email of the guy and everything. It was fucking hilarious. Because I didn't do anything. Elaine opens up a container full of hash. She goes, oh, what's this? I said, oh, that's not going to go over good. Okay, get out of the car. And I had med tanners in the back. So they're searching all my med tanners live on camera, wondering what's in all these containers.
Oh, fuck. That's harsh, John. That's harsh.
Yeah.
Okay, Johnny froze up on us again.
He's frozen.
Yep.
He's having fun out there.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's in a beautiful area, too. You know, the lower mainland of BC is a beautiful, beautiful area, and they're in a nice park. But, yeah. Oh, well. So, when he comes back, when he realizes he's actually frozen, jumps off and comes back on, then we can laugh at him.
Oh, man. Out having an adventure outside is nice, man.
Yeah.
It looks like he's got a nice day out there. It's a nice one out here.
Cool. What's your temperatures like? Like you're up on the side of the mountain, so you're probably not as bad as like the lower guys down, right?
Oh no, I'm one of the lower guys down. I'm one of the 17th hottest places in the United States. Period.
Oh, Brian, like, come on. What the hell are you doing living there, man?
Man, I'm telling you, dude, I've shown outside where it's hit 131 degrees and shit, using multiple thermometers and shit. It gets hot as fuck in my house, my friend. It gets way, way too hot here. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. It was 110 last week here.
Right.
So yeah, we get pretty hot, man. I'm at the base of the mountain here, but I'm only at 450 feet, so I'm actually pretty damn low.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there, in a pocket of uncirculating air.
Yeah, and if you can't have the air movement, then the heat just sits there and it just builds and builds and builds. And Silly Lily says, I'd faint in that kind of temperature. And Pembina River, too hot. Okay, too hot.
Yeah, it's dangerously hot here. Like, you can melt your shoes and shit on the ground.
Well, that's where I said Death Valley, man. Like, you're living on the other side of the mountain from Death Valley, but holy crap, man.
And the homeboy Green Fingers out there, last year we were showing how hot it was here, so he went outside with an egg and put it in his car, and he cooked the egg inside his car and shit. That's how hot it was at his house. He's the only person I've seen that's shown hotter temperatures than I have here. He's down in the Salton Sea.
Well, and like I know I watched a bunch of guys out of Australia and stuff like that they used to do that on a regular basis, Yeah.
They're crazy, man. Out there working in this shit. There's guys out here today working out in the heat. They're putting in a new bridge and shit. 110 degrees. These cats are outside working. It's like, you guys need a break, dude. What the fuck? Trying to kill yourselves.
They don't get paid for a break, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but they also don't get paid when they're dead. So
True.
They've got to pick something, man. Because my buddy, my dad's best friend, he worked construction his whole life. He died early from cancer from huffing so much concrete and cement dust and shit. And working in the heat. Like, he worked down there and almost in Death Valley. He was probably only a couple 100 miles from it, maybe even 100. And it was hot as shit down there all the time. You're melting. Just straight up melt. I remember as a kid, my dad took us to work with him one day, and him and Bill, his buddy Bill, they're outside fucking laying the rebar for the foundation that they're gonna pour in the fucking ground.
Yeah.
And we're hot as shit. We're little kids, me and my brother. We're underneath the truck trying to lay in the shade so we can cool the fuck down, and they're outside working in that shit. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, man, that's
Crazy.
you know who the real men are, okay? They can get out there and bust a hump in that kind of heat. Drink a lot of
Man.
water. You're just
Yeah.
constantly sweating.
A lot of water with some salt in it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I worked in a bakery and I stood beside an oven that was 300 degrees for 12 hours a day. And in the summertime, you know, you were taking salt pills, you know, or
Yep.
else you pass out, you know, like you can live in that heat. You can work in that kind of heat if you know what you're doing. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but you can do it. Yep.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
pops and his buddy Bill, they used to fucking drink pickle juice. They'd fucking like every
Yeah.
couple hours they'd take a shot of pickle juice for the minerals and salt content in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a good idea. And you think, you know, you can use that for your plants as well because there's mineral content in there, you know. But I know like there's so many different things, you know, you look at the Korean natural farming stuff and the ferments and all that, and that's what it's really about. It's getting those essential nutrients out of the other plants and giving them back to your plants, you know, so
Mhm.
that they have those building blocks, right? That's where you can get genetic potential. You got the biology that builds it, and then you've got the building blocks that is needed to build the cells, you know. Sweet electrolytes. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Roller said he 120%, man. Okay, what the heck is bio steel JDN Canadian? Super water. Okay. I don't know, man. So do you do anything? Do you do an RO? Are you running a straight well, Tony?
I
Do
have
you
a
want
well.
Yeah.
My well comes out at 5.8 to 6.2 and 113 to 118 parts per million. It's done that for 42 years. So
Okay.
I can rock that water in an organic system or coconut, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works damn easy. But I also have a reverse osmosis, so when I need to drink water, if I have to, I can run it through that, trap anything. It's got charcoal filter, sediment filter, and what's the third filter? Biofilter. But
In
it's
an
a
RO system?
yeah, it's a 3-stage RO
Yeah.
system that I have.
Yeah, I got a 5-stage myself. Yeah, but then I add pink Himalayan sea salt back into the water for the contents of the minerals, etc. I actually got to find myself some C90 because that's got a lot more of the trace minerals in it than the pink Himalayan.
I just used the last C90 I had about 2 days ago.
Yeah.
You can buy it. Where did I get it from? I don't remember where I bought it from.
Well, it's a trademark name, so you're, as I understand it, if you can find it, then that's what it is, as long as somebody's not mislabeling. But yeah, I know I got to order some offline, you know, just a small bag because I don't need a lot because I'm not, I'm consuming it myself. I'm not even giving it to my plants, right?
You can use kosher salt, pink Himalayan salt. There's all kinds of different salts you could use.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm using the pink Himalayan myself right now.
And it's also good for the plants.
Yeah.
The
In
plants love it.
moderation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And that's the other thing we got to remember, guys. It's all about the balance, you know, and it's moderation is a lot better than, you know, just throwing the kitchen sink in there and going, oh, well, let's see what happens. That's where I really enjoy sitting in with Luna because she goes down the rabbit hole so deep on all of this stuff. Like we mentioned Pardarco to her. It's a tree bark that we use for you know, colds, flus, infections, abscesses in the teeth, that kind of stuff. But this Pardarco, it's antiseptic, antifungal. It's like anti out the wazoo, and it works so well. And she says, "Oh, I'll have to check out what enzymes are in that to see if I can use it for my plants."
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than likely you can.
Oh, I'm sure you probably
And it
can.
just depends on like the processes that it'll help initiate in the plant and like what stage the plant's in.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, like that. A lot of people aren't even really thinking about the hormone levels in the plant as when it's young, as a baby, and then as a teenager, and then as an adult. The difference in hormone levels and what your plant actually needs. A fruiting plant needs a different profile than a vegetative plant. You know,
Yes.
how are you gauging that, and are you really changing up, or what are you changing up in your feeding regimen, Tony, when you're going from each stage?
Well, I don't change anything. When I'm gonna flower a room out, the pot is usually large enough with enough soil for that grow period. So
Okay,
I don't really have to do anything but keep the biologicals going. There's really not
okay,
much left to do. You add a little bit of compost, couple handfuls of like whatever you had put in there to begin with. If you're using neem or karanja meal, soybeans that are GMO or even a fish hydrosolite, that way you can get amino acids to help build the product up.
yeah,
You want like gypsum, so you got a good source of calcium, um, calcium silicate. Uh, Man, those things you can just put on top of the soil and water them in, and
hmm,
the biology will take care of them. So it's just
yeah,
small things like that. The pace of the plant's going to kind of dictate what you need. So it needs to have the ability to pull from that system very easily. And the only way you're doing that in an organic system is to have the biology chelate the nutrients from the
yeah,
organic matter that's in there. So they
yeah,
break it down, turn it into a usable form for the plant that passes through the root hairs easily. So
yeah,
instead of trying to think of it as stage to stage, because that's why I tell people if you're going to grow plants or cannabis specifically, and you're going to keep them as clones, right? And you're running something from a clone form over and over, you've taken an annual and turned it into a perennial. And that plant now isn't reacting to a native set of hormones that it should have. It usually would have went through being a youngster, a seedling, a youngster, juvenile stage, and then becomes
yeah,
like an adult. As you think of it as a human, and as it passes those stages, it has endogenous hormone levels that change. And
hmm,
as we keep it in a longer veg cycle, so that we can clone off it and get cuts, it starts to change the hormone levels that it's going to produce, which for me is where running clones is better. Like I can take a clone off a mom, put it in my system, set it to the lighting schedule there, let the circadian rhythm set, and then
yeah,
that plant's ready to go.
yeah,
Right. Otherwise, I'm always fighting a hormone level that came from someone else's garden. So if I'm not the source for my clones, there may be an issue in the growth from hormone levels being swayed from any type of stress.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't consider. Like that, and you're knocking a lot of time off as well. But when you're growing from seed, sometimes well, you're never going to have the exact same plant the second time that you got from that clone, because everything's different. It always is that way, and it'll always be that way. It's just the general guidelines that you're breeding into, but each plant is their own plant.
Yeah, but like what we were talking about earlier with personal chemovar status and the plant also having a chemovar status, if we know that, the nuances aren't all the things we need. We're going to need specific things to help get that medicine across. We're not going to need all of those things that we think of when we smoke cannabis. We'll be able to open those pathways up by steering the correct types of terpenes and cannabinoids and such to in the correct form. So it could be an isolate for some people. It could be a cannabis line that we already know. Like if we could test everything and that'd be part of the system, once we have these cultivars in clone form, we would know that something has a specific chemovar status, and we don't have to search. We can find groups of them that have that. without knowing the name, because that's where we really get thrown off. We give the plant names that have really nothing to do with what the plant can do or what we claim it's doing, like or from its gene pool. There's a good man. I don't remember the name of it. I have to look through my history. I was just watching it this week. They're going over cultivars and how I believe they were doing 50 cultivars that they collected through the community somehow, and they're all listed how like the average consumer would go down and say, I want an indica or a sativa, or it does this and it does that, right? And they run it through sequencing to find out the actual genetic markers and makeup of the plants, and everything that the consumer thought they knew was only coming back at like 3% right. Like everything basically was incorrect because they're basically setting what they expect to happen off of a name they hear. So they automatically are, this plant does that, it's going to do this, and this is what I feel. So giving them a blind test where they don't know what cannabis they're smoking usually gives you back a better result. For me, it does. That's what I used to do when I was breeding. So if you came in and said your back hurts, right? And I smoke, say you smoke Bubba Kush, right? And so I start getting into, do you grow? How do you consume it? Where do you get it, right? Like if you tell me you always go to random stores to buy weed and just buy whatever Bubba's there, I'm going to probably say you probably never had Bubba on a regular basis. You've had it, but most places were probably lying to you because they were trying to sell weed. So that's where I would come in and give you Bubba along with some other stuff that wasn't Bubba and maybe a cross to Bubba. But I'd give them 4 to 5 plants to take home and try and tell them to come back and tell me what worked. Which one did what you think or wanted it to do? And was it ever, and a lot of times it was exactly what they said. Because a lot of smokers are educated. They know what they want. They know what they're getting. Then there's the people that have been getting took advantage of, right? They go in there, they've got money, but they don't know enough about this because for a long time we weren't allowed to talk. And this is a person that doesn't know where to go to look for information, and the information they're getting is completely wrong. So they end up in a place repeating bad information to people that don't care whether or not they take your money. So they'll start selling you what they pick up. If they're smart enough, they can pick up on the cues you're telling them when you come in and start saying, well, I use these indicas and I like Bubba's. They're going to give you whatever sells with those descriptions because you can't see the herb here. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. You can't do anything we could do back in the day. So now you got to rely on someone that maybe hasn't smoked very long or been around cannabis that long to be the person that helped steer you into a way to use cannabis on a medical level or even recreational. Like if someone should be experienced with the high of cannabis before they start selling it to senior citizens and brand new smokers, right? They should be an experienced smoker. They should understand that someone can green out off one hit, all right? Or you're going to come across people that could smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke, right? And there's particular stuff you'd put those people into before you just start giving them whatever. And that comes through education, like John was talking about earlier. The consumer, the bud tender, our whole system needs to kind of decide whether or not we want to be the cartoon in the back of the magazine or we want to be the article that people are flipping to get the information from instead of, just to get their giggles, right? We used to be just laughing stoners, and now we find pride in being an educated smoker. And I try, and I say stoner to try to offend, but not really, because I'm a stoner too. But to just stay stoned, it's like being a pet rock, right? When you could get high and enlighten yourself, and that's why I said to be an educated smoker is far superior in my. Sometimes, sometimes it's fun to just giggle and have fun, but that's where we're getting left out, though. We stick to that way too hard because learning something new sometimes is scary. Sometimes scary is hard, but usually the hard things are the most rewarding. So that's just the way I look at it.
It's not just sometimes it's the most rewarding, Tony. It's 99.99% the most rewarding, because if you're not pushing yourself, and John talks about it all the time, being in that peak state, the right mindset, and moving forward, learning something every day. I try every day to learn something new. That's why I listen to so many voices, and why I'm one of the luckiest guys around, because I get to watch all of these shows. I get to listen to them and learn from them. And like a lot of our chat is on here, pretty much every single show. And guys, we really appreciate what you guys do. And like, subscribe, comment. Guys, YouTube really, the algorithm really likes it when you guys comment on the actual YouTube videos. So go ahead, give us a thumbs up, and give us some grower love. But it's that community and the education, and that's where John's talking about, the events. If we can add on every event, a living soil component, a biological component, some good education, and just not just for the bud tenders, but for the general population. That's where having the events where it's a smoking, a music, art, whatever, and having a bit of education in there is so damned important.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Yeah.
Where did it go? Oh, for my keyboard. About to run it over. I put it down here to charge, and if I don't look out, I'll run it over with the wheelchair and have to buy a third one. God damn it.
Yeah, maybe you should strap it up so it can't get down on the ground, right? Then you'd always have your keyboard with you. You have a little pouch on the side of the chair to stick your keyboard in,
That would be nice.
Oh, definitely. So how is California going for events, Tony? Are they putting on more and more? Has it, this education does need to get out there. Are you seeing people moving more towards that?
Well, actually, I have. Like last year when Chris went to the California State Fair, they had a cannabis thing there. Cool. And that's the first place I saw in public where they were trying to educate people that speaking of it on the indica and sativa terms was incorrect, and that right to speak about it, and not from everybody, but from at least, like, if it's going to be the bud tenders and the breeders and the people educating, like, the only way we're going to get past this is if somebody starts using terminology that's more correct.
Yeah.
That, like I said, it's stoners or enlightened smokers. We got to become one or the other. And if everyone that doesn't like cannabis just thinks we're dumb stoners, we have to prove that we're not, even though we enjoy doing that. And we do that through the education side. We teach ourselves, we teach each other, and we teach even when it's not about cannabis. Like, I've done that for years with my soul recipe. My cousin, also named Anthony, he's got a daughter that used to hit me up, and I do kind of consulting for her to teach her how to grow plants. Right? And she was just growing vegetables. She wasn't growing cannabis. She didn't know what the fuck it was. But her and her dad would go outside and grow. And all she wanted to do was learn. And she wanted to have the attention mostly. And since her dad liked the garden, for her, attention came through gardening. So, like, teaching her how to make soil and plant her own plant that she could eat something off of was a great lesson for her, and more so for me and my cousin. Like, we weren't taught that kind of stuff as a kid, not from our fathers, right? Neither one of us, our dads didn't teach us how to garden. My mom taught me, but my dad was he was a vet. He was in Vietnam and shit. He was doing way different shit besides farming. Compared, like I said, he's out working in the sun trying to kill himself from having a heart attack in the heat, and I'm over here trying to build a lush garden, which eventually became something that helped him and all the other veterans out. But they didn't know that cannabis worked, right? Like, they were told it was bad. They were told they were bad, and they were told what was wrong with them wasn't going to get fixed ever. and to deal with it. And we're not going to fucking help you in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of them turn to different forms of numbing themselves, be it
That's what it was.
drugs, alcohol, right? The hard stuff. And like
Yeah.
my dad, one day we were having a real talk. He never talked about this kind of stuff. And he's telling me how he never sleeps. He's like, it's like always being on. It's like being in a nightmare 24/7. I can't, even when I'm asleep, I'm awake. It's like all I can think about is what happened. I'd rather be awake and not having that happen. He's all until I end up so exhausted that I have to go to sleep and you go through this shit. He's all it's always like that. It never stops. He's all then you gave me that fucking edible. So when you gave me the edibles, it stopped. He's all, and it's not just me that it stops for. He's all the other guys that I give the edibles to too, because I didn't know he was doing this. He was giving it to these other veterans up in this group he had. He used to have like lockdowns where other vets would come and they'd stay for 3 days. No one can leave. They'd all do their fucking shit. Like you could work through whatever's going on in your life, or you could just kick it and fucking help the camp out, whatever you wanted. But it was for a place where people that understood what you were going through were with you and were there to help you.
Yeah.
And it like that. I didn't know he was doing that. So he started giving him the rubs I was giving him and the fucking edibles I was giving him and the hash I was giving him. And that shit was helping these guys have a better
life.
time. Yeah, a better life, period. Right.
Yeah.
It was easier to cope with some of this shit for them. Right. And it was all because of cannabis, something that I took for granted. I was a stoner for too damn long. Always thinking of myself first. Like, I want to get high. I like what I like. I don't care what you give me. Like, that was me, dumb stoner. And then when you see the realization of it really changing someone's life for a positive, and I don't just mean it made the lights prettier. I'm talking about it made life prettier. Everything. When you don't want to go out in the sun because the darkness follows you everywhere you go, if you can just use cannabis to stop that, it doesn't matter if you laughed harder, because you will. And it doesn't matter if the THC level was fucking 27%. It doesn't matter. It only matters that you're no longer suffering from this basically life debilitating thing that they can't get across to people in the VA here. Like if they go talk to someone, they'll tell them they're psychotic or something, or they're having suicidal thoughts, instead of it being, I'm trying to get this shit out of me so it doesn't wrestle me to death. These demons are fucking me up, and I need to tell it to someone. And unless you've served, you don't understand it. And that's why my dad used to have those sit-ins with other veterans. Nobody was allowed in unless they were a vet. You could be a vet of any war, but if you didn't serve, there was no need to be there. You can come see me tomorrow, like, or when this shit's not happening. But right now, it's about, like, maybe there's a guy over here that's having problems with his family, and it's all because of the issues that stem back to something they've all went through, but are afraid to talk about. But in that situation, they can speak on it, and it becomes easier with cannabis. Like I said, everything is easier on weed. So if you give someone some hash, who's afraid to talk, 2 hours in, he just starts saying shit, right? He's numb enough from the cannabis to let it out. But now it's not a numbness that it's like alcohol, where you'll hurt someone else, so you stop hurting. Cannabis doesn't do that to you. You'll let yourself go through the pain so that you don't have to suffer through it in small increments all the time. Like getting it out one big fucking burst with cannabis, it'll help. It's like taking mushrooms, same thing. It letting it out in these little bursts, like carbonation in a beer, is always going to lead to explosions. But if you can just let that spark come out of you, it'll show you the light. Like, just let that fire that's within you burning you up, just let it out.
And you can do that in that environment, and it's really hard to do it with somebody that doesn't understand, wasn't there, didn't walk through that jungle, and didn't have the bullets going by them, and there's a lot there. Like, I know my father-in-law was World War II vet. They're on D-Day, and he doesn't like to talk about it with somebody that doesn't understand what the hell is going on. Now, I do want to come back to Rusty Nails. Rusty, exactly. And it's all about the endocannabinoid system. That's where somebody like Kayla, the cannabis nurse, she's getting out there and teaching about the endocannabinoid system. And that's going to be our way forward in understanding how the different cannabinoids affect us. And they are coming out with testing equipment where you can find out what cannabinoids your body is lacking in for your endocannabinoid system. And you don't have to get all of these from cannabis. There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different plants that will help your endocannabinoid system to balance out for health, right? And Tony, Silly Lily said, well said, Tony, on what you're talking about, brother.
Thank you, Silly. Appreciate you.
Well, guys, that's the hour, so we're going to cut it off here. We've got aquaponics specialist this afternoon, so you guys want to tune into that. Charlie Schultz is on with us for an hour, and then the gentleman that actually put together the first cannabis event in Calgary on city property, Dave Dormer, is on Tuesday night. It's actually going to be a later show. It's starting at 8 instead of 7, so 7 o'clock Pacific. Then we've got Andy Lopez, of course, on Wednesday. Luna is supposed to have, oh my God, Matt Powers on Thursday. And then we've got actually a specialist next week on Soil Matters talking about glyphosate. She's the leading researcher on glyphosate in North America, from what I understand. So that's it, guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Take it easy.